What's up, DAO Talk fam? Just a quick little announcement. My dumbass had some mic issues. So for the first about like 15, 20 minutes of this episode, I sound kind of bad and echoey. So if you just want to skip over my voice, won't hurt my feelings. Otherwise, enjoy the episode. All right, welcome back to DAO Talk. This is episode number 22 of DAO Talk. This is your one-stop shop for everything DAOs. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Frisson.
Let's get right into it. Some DAO Talk news directly from the source, the fastest growing DAO newsletter, maybe. If you don't know, we've mentioned it before at the end of podcasts, but if you don't listen to the end, if you listen to this and you also want, or you just don't want to listen anymore and you just want to read, or maybe you didn't have access to your Spotify or Apple Music account, we have a written version that goes out every Monday or Tuesday on Substack. It is very simple for you to go find. It's just daotalk.substack.com. And we cover everything we talk about on the pod, along with a lot of bonus links that we don't end up getting to, or we just run out of time and not able to talk about it. So go check that out for sure. It's growing pretty well. We have a good little, fan base of people on there that are pretty involved. And, it's just a different style of media consumption. We can go a little bit deeper on some things, and we can link some things that make it a little more involved. So pretty sweet coming out of, DAO Talk Studios. Also, let's run through a little bit of stats that we've accumulated over the past couple weeks. We have had 1,363 downloads since DAO Talk has been published, which is pretty awesome. So thank you all for listening. 52 subscribers on that Substack. Not super crazy numbers, but it's growing pretty organically. And then on our YouTube videos, 6,276 views. So that's across clips, DAO Talk weeklies, DAO Talk interviews. It's just been pretty awesome. Frisson and I had this idea a while back, and before we started recording, every week I'm like, oh, what episode is this? Oh, this is number 22. Like, oh, it's been what's 22 weeks of DAO Talk, with a little bit more actually because of break. So it's been an awesome journey, and we're excited to keep this going.
Hell yeah! Like, these numbers aren't huge. We're not Joe Rogan yet, but they're legit. And anyone who has created content before knows the hardest part is going from zero to something. And so shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for partaking in DAO Talk. I'm not totally sure why you do, but I really appreciate that you do. And you've helped us get a little community going, a little traction, and we'll try to keep it going for you. Except for the YouTube, we have the perfect number of subscribers right now. So don't follow us. If you're not already subscribed on YouTube, then don't subscribe, because we have 69 subscribers right now. Or get someone else to unsubscribe if you're going to subscribe. Thanks.
We had an article this week out of the Content Guild /Tally that just went crazy in the DAO ecosystem, and it went crazy for a good reason. This is from one of our Content Guild members, Gaia. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that last name, but Frisson, break it down.
Yeah, this is like a super meta article about DAO compensation, which DAO compensation, very hot topic right now. It's the sort of salaried employee like Web 2.0 model is it has some drawbacks, but also like a lot of benefits in terms of compensation. I think DAOs are still trying to figure out, what does compensation look like? How do we do this in a decentralized way? Make sure people are rewarded for their work. People, are paid based on the basis of their contribution, but also have some sort of ability to predict what they're going to get paid based on what they do. What they care about and why they're working in the DAO is aligned with what they're compensated. Compensation can take different forms. And so I think it's something we're all exploring right now. And this article by Gaia is super interesting because it's not like a how-to guide necessarily. It's not like, here's how you should approach compensation in your DAO. Instead, it's like a really deep first principles mapping of why compensation exists, and then what are the different ways, like basically breaks down compensation really thoroughly into its component parts, both for the person who's contributing and the like organization, and then tries to put those two pieces together to be like, okay, here's how you should think about matching them. It's quite long, but it's like, this is almost like it's like a DAO compensation like Bible or like map that you can go back to understand like what the different parts are and how you can think about putting them together for your DAO. So I would highly recommend reading this. It's kind of going like low key viral in the DAO community, but very organically, because like there's a lot of people thinking about this problem, and really appreciate Gaia's take. Also, Gaia is amazing. She like English is a second language, but she has this like amazing creative grasp of it where like the writing style is like freestyle, but like English as a second language, and like the output is just incredible. Like it's very fun to read. There's all these like rhymes and near rhymes everywhere. It's hard to explain, but yeah, you got to read it. Also, shout out to Gaia. She's the best.
Yeah, I love the leading quote here on the tweet. A reward that is expected and not met is a punishment. Coming from like a creative, agency background from my college and doing a lot of, photography and video work just as like side gigs in college, like something that, is pretty prevalent is like, not getting paid properly or getting your rates discounted because, it's a friend or it's this or it's that. Like, I think it's super important. Because I see a lot of parallels between like DAO contributions and that industry. And I think there's a lot of people that are from like agency work, and kind of DAOs kind of almost like function as an agency in a way, it's more of like a freelance, like network effect style organization. It's super important long term to establish like these frameworks as, like the way we do it in Content Goat is Frisson, you made it a very, very intentional. Like even if it's not a ton, no matter what someone does for the DAO, whether it's super, super small or super big, like they are compensated. And I think that's why this is kind of going viral. It's one of the first like really in-depth frameworks, like to echo everything you mentioned, that plans everything out from a first principles perspective. So just like to show, like you can go collect it on Mirror. We already have 5 people who have collected it on Mirror. I need to go do that. I know Frisson you have. And then it was also featured as the number 2 headline on Forefront's Signal, which is really, really awesome. So go check that one out and read it. Even if, you don't think it necessarily affects you, it will in one sense or another, because I think this is one of those core DAO issues, DAO discussions, that will sneak up on us if we're not, careful about it. So, especially as a lot of people try to go full time in the DAO space, like, that's becoming easier and easier in the sense that it's more accepted. So exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. We're starting to see kind of like the beginnings of sub industries or like industry verticalization within DAOs. And we're seeing that on Tally as well. There's very exciting, very promising examples of a few different types of DAOs that are using Tally. So one is protocol DAOs, which this is kind of like the OG sort of like type of DAO that succeeded. People managing kind of infrastructure, blockchain infrastructure. They want to be credibly neutral and they want it to be community governed. We've talked about how Vitalik made a really strong case for decentralized governance of these types of things, which there's like that article in there. But yeah, on Tally, you can see a lot of examples of successful protocol DAOs, including Hot Protocol, which is a bridge infrastructure, Compound, ENS DAO, Reflexor Finance, and more. So yeah, there's protocol DAOs. We also called out service DAOs. So this is like if you want to provide a service, and particularly if other DAOs are your customers, you really kind of need/want to be a DAO, in my view. That's why we are DAOifying ourselves into Content Guild. And so, one really exciting service DAO that I think is in many ways like underreported on is Code for Arena. It's an audit, like a blockchain protocol, like audit firm, except it's not a firm, it's a DAO. It's like an open organization where anyone can sort of participate in security audits. And I think it's called out as being like a very, very like successful service. Like people talk about how they prefer working with Code Farina for audits versus like traditional audit firms, which is super dope. So definitely check them out. Then we have NFT DAOs. So we've talked a lot about Nouns DAO recently. We're going to talk more about them this week. We're seeing other like Nouns forks or like derivatives or just like Nouns inspired projects show up on Tally recently, including Spells DAO, Little Nouns DAO, and DGen Dogs Club. As well as like the OG Nouns DAO, people are starting to use Tally for governance of Nouns DAO, which is dope. And then finally, we also have Product DAO. So this is like if you want to build like a Web3 platform and you want to kind of take a community-based approach. There's some really early projects that are having a lot of success doing this, including Dope Wars, which is building a game, Gitcoin, which I think a lot of people are familiar with. It's like a quadratic funding platform. And and Radical, which is like a Web3 like peer-to-peer software stack. That's another DAO that I think is underreported on. They have like a massive treasury. They're like one of the top 10 DAO treasuries. Anyway, so there's this like really nice emerging diversity of types of DAOs or like DAO industries that are emerging on Tally and just in general. And so I think it kind of shows like, there's a lot of different ways that you can DAO. So the last type of DAO that we call it is anything you want. So we do believe that like DAOs are for everyone. We think that if you want to do something together on the internet, you want to use the internet at value, you want to serve, customers on Ethereum, there's a lot of good reasons to do it as a DAO, and Tally will support you from start to finish on that. So check it out, tally.xyz, and let's DAO together.
That's a perfect segue into, we're going to talk about two of these DAOs that we mentioned. One of them is one we are building because I think, we sit here and talk about DAOs all the time. And I think it's important that we, build DAOs ourselves, especially as we're, creating a DAO tooling company as well as, our day job, if you want to say. So Content Guild XYZ or Content Guild, we talked about it a lot of times. A lot of the articles or almost everything we talk about on DAO Talk from Tally's end, has been decentralized, or not fully decentralized yet, but it is a DAO in process, as we like to call it. And the front end, so the website for Content Guild was released this week. So if you're watching, you can kind of see, we have 6 different sub pages. We have the Join Now page, which is, how to Content Guild, how to be part of the Content Guild. If you want to join, if you're interested, this is literally open to anybody who is a creator, a writer, a producer, any type of content around the DAO space. Like, we want to help fund that and push the narrative forward. That is what Content Guild is. So front and center, call to action, how to join. If you want to join, go to contentguild.xyz or just DM Frisson or I on Twitter, or Frisson or me on Twitter. We're pretty active with other members of the Content Guild as well. Then we have our manifesto, which was written by Frisson. It's pretty great. And at the bottom, we have the official Content Guild anthem. Congratulations, today is your day. We're off to great places. We're off and away. We have brains in our head. We have feet in our shoes. We can steer Content Guild any direction we choose. A little, Dr. Seuss style poem there. And we have work, which will have a collection of all of the work that we put out from all of our members. You have the editors, who are the core team, who have governance power, and then the contributors, which will be a directory of all of the members in the Content Guild. The idea there is to eventually have, start sort of like a job board or directory for anyone who wants to hire any of the talent from the Content Guild. We're not trying to make our contributors exclusive to us. We want just more DAO content, and we want more opportunities for everybody involved. Then we have the publishers. This is what we mean by it being a DAO in process. Right now it's just funded by Tally. If you read the manifesto, you have a little bit more time. You can see kind of the ethos behind why we started it, just decentralizing Tally's marketing budget. And this is right now the sole funder of the Content Guild is Tally itself. So awesome stuff coming out of the Content Guild. If you want to apply, it's wide open. Previously it's been pretty private and exclusive, and a lot of it has been, Frisson and I doing outbound marketing directives, but now it's open to anybody. And if you don't want to join, but you know someone who would be a creator or who would be interested in getting funded and getting paid for their work, send them our way. We're super excited with that. Frisson, is there anything you want to touch on before we move on to the Nouns news? But like I said, let's move on to the Nouns news. Nouns DAO, which is something we talk about almost every week because it's become more than just a DAO. It has become kind of a network nation state, which is, I think, where this decision was rooted in. And that decision was to delete the Discord. The main Nouns Discord is no more, which is kind of jarring at first. But then the more I look into it, I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. So, Frisson, I want to get your take on this first, and then I'll just chime in after.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So, like one of the things that is really special about Nouns DAO is that the folks that created it and the early community and just the ethos is like very committed to like the meme of Nouns DAO, to CC0, to open source, to the art, to like Ethereum, and they really don't like. I think the original community, like they really don't want to see it turn into like a business or like a competition to raid their now very large treasury of ETH or a Moon Boy project, right? They're not about those things. And I think like the Discord that was originally created, I guess the like official Nouns Discord, it was kind of going in that direction. And so I think they just took the opportunity to be like, nah, we're not feeling in this, and just delete it. So so I think the Discord I think still exists, but it's like read only right now. I think it's going to disappear at some point. And so in this tweet, like you can see Noun 4156, who's like he does a lot of, Punk 4156, who does a lot of ops stuff for Nouns DAO, provided some rationale, but like, you know, one thing I've seen a lot of people talk about on Twitter with regard to this decision this week is like, it might be a really good thing for Nouns because it's supposed to be like this decentralized meme that propagates out, and there isn't supposed to be like one central official like Nouns community or source. And a lot of people have pointed out there's actually like dozens of Discords that are basically focused on Nouns that the community has created from different angles since the creation of Nouns. And so in some ways, it's like it kind of provides an opportunity for additional decentralization of the project where people can kind of like, if they see a gap where they're like, oh, the Nouns Discord used to provide this, maybe I can provide it, right? Or maybe I can go find it in another place. So really interesting decision. I think there's a lot of like other themes here that people have been like that have been like outstanding issues in the DAO space. For example, just Discord in general, like very powerful tool, but very easy for it to become this place that people almost like abuse or just like, I don't know, come to like Moon Boy or demand things like that. And so I think like this is also a statement by the Nouns team. It's like, nah, I don't think the Nouns team is the right word there, but there are some like early folks who kind of like created the Discord and had the admin keys, you know, who are just like, nah, basically, like we're just not with that. And I think more projects should be willing to do that. It's kind of like, you know, another related topic is like token incentives. There's a lot of projects that like have gotten addicted to token incentives, have gotten addicted to the Discord, have gotten addicted to this like hype train trying to pump the price. And like, I don't think anyone should be married to any of those things. Like, so you should be willing to just like axe parts of your infrastructure if you think it's not taking you the direction you want to go. And so Nouns is doing that. I will say like they didn't really explain why very well. Particularly like I think there's a lot of relevant discussion in the Discord, but like not everyone is in the Discord and the Discord is going away. So I think there's a Twitter space that you can find, but I would love to see more people who were actually involved in the decision directly to delete the Discord, like who had admin privileges, like publish more content to like really articulate their views on this. I think that's something that we could and should see more of, and people should do when they make decisions like this to help everyone learn. But yeah, super interesting. One of the most prominent, important discords in the space, like boom, it's gone. So yeah, make your own nouns Discord.
Really, there's like awesome experimental stuff that comes out of the nouns ecosystem. This article that was, it's called Nouny.sh, it's Nounish from DevCarrot, was probably my favorite piece that I read when I was prepping for this. And it kind of just explains it better than me or you probably could. And this is something I think you need to have a little more like background info into, like why they're doing it, and the like the actual language coming out of the DAO itself. So I think it's really awesome. And we're going to see how it plays out in the long run. I don't know if there's really any other DAO that could do this, or not even that could do it. I think anybody can do it. It's like any that like kind of have the balls to do it. Like I think we talked about it earlier this week. It's like that perfect level of like them not giving a fuck, and like it's just going to work. Like, okay, like we're not doing this anymore. We'll figure it out. That's kind of how it is. And I wish I owned a noun. That's all I can say about all of this. If I had the money to do it, that's where I'd be putting my money.
That's actually a really good point. So I think one near-term impact of this decision is the mint price of new nouns has dipped a bit, which is, by the way, I think why a lot of projects don't do things like this, because there's sort of like this immediate near-term community that's formed that is like reliant on the infrastructure to some degree, similar to like token incentives and things like that. And yeah, if I was rich, this would be a great like time, right, to buy a noun, because like, yeah, I think it's down. There's one that went for I think 40-ish ETH, which is one of the lowest noun mints.
That's hella low.
Yeah, auction like clearing prices ever. So yeah, if you're a whale and you're trying to tap into nouns, now's probably the time.
BRB gonna go sell an organ, buy a noun, sell it again in 2 months, and buy back my organ.
It's probably, I'll just do like the Michael Saylor. I'll just take out like an additional mortgage on my house, so it's 7% interest, and then just like buy a noun with that. That's probably smart.
Yeah, definitely very smart. Taking advice from Michael Saylor. I love it. All right, let's go through some hot take news, some quick little updates. An update from Hayden, who was the founder of Uniswap. Yesterday, Binance delegated 13 million Uni from its books, making it one of the largest Uni delegates. This is only 1.3% of current delegated Uni. So governance voting power remains distributed. I think the big thing here, Frisian, you had a tweet about this, is Hayden knows better than anybody. Like Binance, like that is not the user's Uni. That's Binance. Like,
yeah. So this is interesting because like, in a centralized exchange like Binance, obviously the users perceive the tokens to be theirs, right? So like if I have a Binance account and I buy some Uni on there, I'm like, that's my Uni. But the reality is, with how blockchains work, it's really not, but it's in Binance's, Ethereum address. And as such, they can do whatever they want with it, technically. And in this case, they have done what they wanted with it, which is take some of it and like basically delegate it to themselves to have voting power in the Uniswap DAO. It remains to be seen what they do with that voting power. Very interesting, because they're like kind of a Uniswap competitor in a lot of ways. I just want to like add though, like not only does the blockchain say that the Uni that you quote unquote hold on a centralized exchange isn't yours, really, like, especially with an entity like Binance, I kind of think the law thinks it isn't yours either. I'm not a lawyer. If we do like an analysis of the phrase we say the most on this podcast, it's quickly going to become like, we're not lawyers. I'm not a lawyer, but like, like Binance, it's not like putting your money in a bank, man. Like it's, you do not have many of the legal protections that you might have as, for example, a U.S. citizen by putting your money in a bank if you're putting your money in an exchange like Binance. So like, don't think the money's yours, because it's not. But even, just rotating back to the blockchain perspective specifically, like you can't, this is why one of the reasons it's cool to custody your own crypto is, you can do stuff like participate in Uniswap governance. In this case, it's not yours, so Binance is using your Uni to participate in Uniswap governance. Maybe they're doing something you don't like. Who knows? Doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, super interesting. It'll be very fascinating to see how this plays out over time.
For sure, for sure. All right, shielded voting from Snapshot. What is this?
What is this? So people have probably participated in snapshot votes where like, okay, there's a vote live, right? And maybe they're not like a super insider or whale in the DAO, but they want to vote. So they go to the proposal, a snapshot, and then they just like look and see which way the whales have already voted, and they just rock with that direction because they don't have a lot of context. This is probably a very, very, very common thing. And so this is like a solution to that problem or a situation or an alternative where like during the actual proposal itself, people can't see who's voted on what. I think this is a really good option for people to have in voting systems. So I think it's dope. It's just it's like one step, right? So for example, it's not private voting because after the proposal is over, people can still look back and see who voted on what. So it doesn't solve all of the problems like associated with privacy in voting. For example, like it wouldn't necessarily prevent like vote bribing or anything like that. But it definitely like is a step forward. It's also worth noting like when you're voting on a snapshot proposal, like nothing is happening on chain. So it's really just more of like a community signaling thing. So it doesn't necessarily like solve on-chain voting privacy or any part of that either. But yeah, so, you know, I think it's helpful in the scheme of things, and like hopefully we see more improvements like this coming from all the participants in the space as we figure out how to make provide more options and improve outcomes in governance.
Just your daily reminder, Snapshot is not on chain. It is off chain. It is a sentiment vote, which is fine. It's cool. But I think this is probably more important for like sentiment votes, just to remove a lot of like the social pressures of, you know, I mean, you don't have to do it in this, like this is an optional feature, right? So, you know, you don't have to do it, but I think it is probably a important step or feature for most votes that happen on Snapshot, especially because it just forces people to have a little more education when it comes to what they're voting on and why they're voting on it, and not just, you know, select what is either winning or is from the closest person they know on that Snapshot vote. I know I'm a victim of that when I first started in the space, so we'll see how it works. Kind of moving along in that same vein, a new feature I don't know if this feature live or not, but it's nouns ranked delegation. So when you're voting, and when you delegate your tokens, if you are not going to be an active voter, if the address you've delegated your vote to on a proposal does not vote, you can defer it to a second ranked delegate vote, which I think is a good step in the direction of like improving participation, but it doesn't 100% solve the problem of someone voting, because it's like, well, what if that second ranked delegate doesn't, vote either, So I think it's cool. Frisson, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I put this in the same category where like this doesn't solve voter participation, kind of like how the shielded voting by Snapshot doesn't solve voting privacy, but like it's a nice option. This one, to be clear, hasn't been built yet, whereas I think Snapshot, the shielded voting is live. This is just an idea, but I think it's a cool one, right? Like basically when you go to delegate your tokens, instead of just choosing one wallet address, you choose 3 and rank them 1, 2, 3. And then like if your first person doesn't vote, your votes pop to the second person. I think that would be like a cool add to just like the overall delegation experience, and would love to see someone try it.
All right, last 2 things. Tweet from Luke Martin, venture coinist, very popular account on Twitter. Want to get rich quick? Don't trade. Submit DAO funding proposals. And this is just a thread of DAO funding or DAO proposals that were funded by Harmony Protocol. And it is basically just a bunch of grifts. Frisson, I know you love this tweet, and it got you a little bit fired up. So
just scroll down. Let's like read a couple. So here's one that got funded. Aura Dogs DAO aims to spread good vibes throughout the crypto space. Funded for $60,000. Like that's the extent of the application. Let's go down one more. I guess I don't. Yeah, somehow have these memorized. Lighted Up DAO planned to build outdoor light projection art that would raise awareness? Attended some meetups, took a road trip to Vegas. and hit NFT NYC. No outdoor light projection art deliverables, but they did get a MetaMask hacked, funded for $75,000. So like, look, there a lot of DAOs they have these grants programs, which I think are really smart, where basically like there's some money in the treasury and they want to create this like open ability for people to come in and like build on top of their project. So like a well executed one is Noun's Prop House. Aave Grants also does a really good job. So like a lot of DAOs have these programs, and I think they're really smart. But like, don't do this with them. Like you just like there's a lot of bad actors in the space that are just like looking for treasuries to raid. So don't make your treasury raidable. Like you need to do a good job executing on these programs so that the people that your DAO is funding are actually adding value. So yeah, and rant.
Mic drop. Let's move into our final piece, the meme of the week. Again, Fridgen's never seen this. Here we go. MFers applying for Web3 crypto jobs be like, okay, I'm going to apply for a Web3 job. And it's a boxer sitting down. It's like, damn, add a cover letter.
Oh my God, dude.
That's my favorite.
This is so funny, man.
I mean, guys, I've run into this a lot. Like, people are just afraid to take that first step in Web3. It's like, you just got to dive in, do the work. It'll pay off, I promise. You'll end up with a top 1 DAO podcast.
This applies to so many things in Web3, not just job applicants. Like people are like, they raise money to build something. They're like, I'm going to build improved DAO voting. And then it's like, damn, I had to write code. Like there's so many people in crypto that just like, yeah, they're very obsessed with the idea of doing something, and actually doing it is tough. It's like getting punched in the face. So yeah, execution is at a premium. Like, yeah. Do stuff.
Oh yeah. All right, that's been episode 22. Remember, go subscribe at daotalk.substack.com for that newsletter. It comes out Monday, Tuesday after we record. Keep listening, keep subscribing, keep sharing. We love the DAO Talk fam. This is probably Fridgen's last podcast for this year. Maybe we'll see him around New Year's, but he most likely will have a little pudgy mitt coming next week, taking some time off for parental leave. So we'll have some awesome co-hosts, probably a new one each week from the Content Guild and from some like DAO personalities on Twitter. So look forward to that. Fridgen, it's been an honor. I'll see you, I don't know when I'll see you next on this podcast, but Godspeed, brother.
Peace.
Peace.